These are some photos taken with one of the cheapest, yet good quality lenses that you can mount on a full-frame Sony camera. How good is actually this f/0.95 APS-C bokeh monster mounted on Sony A7C? Let's inspect. Hey everybody, how are you doing? Nice to meet you, my name is Michael, and what we do here on the channel is usually to inspect cool tech, and among all the nice smart gadgets, today I want to show you one kind of weird but also very well working combination between a lens that I got recently. That's the 7Artisans 35mm APS-C f/0.95, so yes, that's a bokeh monster lens. And I thought about pairing it with my primary full-frame camera. Last year I upgraded to A7C because of the autofocus. And weirdly enough, this is a prime lens with manual focusing. Therefore, I think it's gonna be suitable for just some people, those of you who feel comfortable with manual focusing, and experienced photographers, experienced videographers where you have the camera in still condition and you have enough time to focus and to do the composition right and take probably a few shots until you nail it. As opposed to people who prefer the autofocusing, because even if you're experienced with manual focusing, nothing is comparable to good autofocusing system, especially the one of the Sony cameras. I have the focus being smoother right now, so it catches fairly quickly, even if I'm filming in 4K. And you can imagine with manual focusing, it's really hard to replicate the same thing, but with some patience, this can bring really good results. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the build quality and the characteristics, show you some photo and video samples, and we're going to discuss how good or bad this lens is. Taking it out of the box, it's actually a very good job that 7Artisans have done. You receive the lens with caps. Unlike most similar lenses, there's no click mechanism. The lens is mostly metal made, feels very solid, and I really like the concept of the front cap. The build quality is superb for a budget lens. It feels far superior to the Tamron lenses I've mostly used, or any of the Samyang or Rokinon lenses. Each one of the mentioned above is, of course, at the rather affordable range for lenses about Sony A7 series. The characteristics are quite amazing, especially the super fast aperture capped at f/0.95, which turns the lens into something like a bokeh monster. Since the samples that you're going to see are recorded or shot with a full-frame sensor, we do have some limitations though. There's a crop ratio. Therefore, the 35mm will convert into something like 52.5mm on full frame, and the maximum aperture is going to be around 1.4, which is still quite remarkable at that price. You have two ways using it, by the way. If you leave the full frame mode, then you can take advantage of the maximum available area, and in post-production you may have to crop the edges. Most of the time, it would require 10 to 15% of cropping, which is not that much. The benefit is that you can keep the full megapixel size of the sensor, and you're about to lose less in terms of megapixels and quality. If you switch to the dedicated crop mode, which is dedicated to APS-C lenses, the sensor goes into cropped mode and your photos will have a size of close to 10.5 megapixels. I've mostly shot in this mode, apparently for YouTube, social media, online publishing and so on. That's going to be just fine. For photos where you actually need to use more megapixels, then probably it ain't be the right lens to use with a full frame. Better get a camera with the correct set of sensor, like the Sony a6400 or similar. The operation is very simple. Aperture ring and a focus ring, both of them are super smooth. Really, it's a pleasure using them. I mostly wanted to try the lens because it has no clicks while using the rings, and it's super quiet, therefore fantastic for video recording. In fact, if you work mostly in 4K, even the crop mode is gonna be fine for you because all you need is just above 8 megapixels for true 4K recording. So in my case, it is indeed a perfect match. And with a wide open aperture, it can give me a lot more light compared to other lenses. You wouldn't get any data about the aperture of the photos. You do get the shutter speed and the ISO settings, of course. The lens has no electronics inside, therefore no EXIF data. And here are some more samples. Outdoors, you can use a lens filter, of course, easy to mount 52mm thread. Apparently, when a rather cheap lens is paired with a budget ND filter, results may be just good. Post-processing can enhance the photos a lot, but you may notice some vignetting and some annoying flares. Perhaps the purplish tint here is caused by my filter, but if we directly shoot towards light at night without a filter, there are more flares to be seen. As you can notice, the edges are losing sharpness most of the time. Perhaps the sweet spot about sharpness and accuracy without vignetting is keeping the aperture around 1.4 and 2.8. In harsher lighting condition, there are chromatic aberrations notable, mostly green and purple fringing, quite normal for lenses of this budget class. The 12-bladed aperture is a delight to work with, pretty nice to shoot at night because the bokeh is even more amazing. Now, at the end, if we have to put together all the pros and the cons, it's first of all one of the best lenses with such a wide aperture that you can buy at $250. It's obviously better and less restrictive to be paired with APS-C camera, but it can also fit on full frames with the remark that photos would be with a maximum size of 10.5 megapixels if you use the crop mode, which in certain situations you can consider to be even an advantage, but is clearly a disadvantage if the resolution is a priority. So I think this 35mm lens by 7Artisans is great about video recording, no matter whether we talk about APS-C or full-frame sensors. And a disclaimer, in the past years I've primarily filmed videos with Panasonic GH5 and prior to that with Panasonic G7, and you can Google around for autofocus performance with Panasonic cameras, especially Micro Four Thirds based. So even though I had primarily autofocus lenses, I've been using them in manual focus mode almost all the time, so yes, I felt really comfortable shooting with the 7Artisans 35mm even on a full-frame camera, because the really advantage here with video is that you don't get any quality degradation. Concerning photos, they still are good, however this time you need to ask yourself the question whether 10 megapixels are good enough for your purposes. If we talk about social media, smartphone photography viewing, or just regular flat screens, that's fine, but if we talk about high density of pixels, then possibly you should search for proper native full-frame compliant lens like this one. Actually, you can check on 7Artisans website. I think they do have a 50mm, which is compatible with full-frame cameras, a bit more expensive though. So yeah, I can totally recommend that for videographers, for photographers, kind of if you're okay with having a 10 megapixel photo or cropped edition, but no matter what, I think this is a keeper. For $250, there's acceptable quality of video, and this is a true bokeh monster. So now you can let me know what you think. Do you prefer autofocus or manual focus? And do you have a favorite cheap Chinese lens, or doesn't matter where it's manufactured? Just let me know about your suggestions, and maybe we can exchange some more info about these Sony E-mount compatible lenses. Comment below. My name is Michael. It's been really pleasing to see you on the channel in the past few minutes. I hope to see you soon, therefore subscribe, hit the like if that was useful, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.